My name is Ryan Walker, and my life's philosophy is to avoid drama at all costs. That philosophy went up in flames the day Chloe Fisher slapped a note on my desk, and the entire lecture hall lost its mind. Ryan, she said, I'll give you 3 days to think it over. I figure it was just another one of the Campus Queens games. The next day, she moved into the apartment across the hall from me. The day after that, she became my partner on the biggest project of the semester. And now, she has me cornered in the stairwell, her eyes shining with a terrifying intensity. The offer expired, she whispered, leaning in. But for you, I'll let you jump the line. 1. My name is Ryan Walker. I'm a junior in the design program, and my favorite thing in the world is peace and quiet. Lately, though, that's been in short supply. And it's all Chloe Fisher's fault. It started on a Monday morning. I slipped into class just as the lecture was starting, but my usual slacker seat in the back was already taken. I had no choice but to grimace and take the only open spot, front row center. The professor was droning on when I felt a poke on my arm. It was Chloe, the star of our department, the girl half the guys on campus would kill for a date with. Basically, someone from a different planet. She didn't say anything, just slid a folded-up sticky note onto my textbook. It was pink. My stomach dropped. Nothing good ever comes from a pink sticky note. I figured she wanted to borrow my notes or ask about an assignment, so I unfolded it. Inside was a single line of neat but forceful handwriting. Ryan, I think you're pretty cool. Want to give this a try? I nearly choked on my own spit. My head snapped up to look at her. She was propping her chin on her hand, her eyes curved into a crescent moon smile, like a fox who'd just cornered a rabbit. The professor's gaze swept over our row, and I quickly crumpled the note into a ball and shoved it deep into my jeans pocket. For the rest of the lecture, the back of my neck burned. I could feel her staring at me the entire time. The second the bell rang, I grabbed my bag and made a break for it. Chloe's hand shot out and snagged my backpack strap. Hey, what's the deal? You see my note and run. No deal, I muttered, tried to yank my bag free. She had an iron grip. Okay, then give me a straight answer, she said, stepping in front of me and tilting her head up to look me in the eye. Sunlight streamed through the window, making the flyaways in her hair glow like a halo. The few students still lingering in the classroom were already starting to whisper. What's going on? Is that Chloe Fisher and Ryan Walker? No idea. Why is she even talking to him? My scalp prickled. Chloe, don't mess around. Who's messing around? Her smile vanished, replaced by a look of surprising seriousness. Ryan, I'm giving you 3 days to think about it. Think about what? About being my boyfriend, obviously, she said, as if it were the most natural question in the world, like asking if I'd had lunch yet. I didn't answer. This scenario was so far outside my emergency preparedness plan, I didn't know how to react. She didn't seem to mind. She leaned a little closer, and I caught a faint, clean scent of citrus. 3 days. I'll come get your answer then. With that, she let go of my backpack, gave me a little wave, and walked away, leaving me standing at the classroom door like an idiot. The crumpled up note in my pocket felt like it was burning a hole through my thigh. 2. Back at the dorm, my roommates were in the middle of a loud and chaotic gaming session. The second I walked in, our RA Ben let out a whoop. Dude, Walker, you're famous. My heart sank. Another roommate shoved his phone in my face. It was the campus gossip log. The latest post was a high-res photo of me in the classroom, backpack strap in Chloe's hand. The caption read, "Shocker, Design Department's Ice Queen Chloe Fisher publicly chasing a mystery man. Anyone know who this guy is?" The comments section was already a war zone. Isn't that Ryan Walker? He's usually flying under the radar. Chloe has. Unique taste, I guess. I'll bet a six-pack they're done in 3 days. +1. Isn't Chloe famous for her short attention span? I pushed the phone away and collapsed into my desk chair. Ben sidled up, waggling his eyebrows. Not bad, man. How'd you bag the campus queen without any of us knowing? Share your secrets. The secret is to stay away from her. I grumbled. Stop playing coy. What's it feel like? What's it feel like? One word. Trouble. Chloe Fisher was the center of attention wherever she went. Me? I just wanted to be a ghost, quietly working on my art in a forgotten corner of the library. We were two parallel lines she was hell-bent on twisting into a pretzel. It defied all logic. For the next 2 days, I moved like a spy. I peek out my door before leaving, stick to the least traveled paths on campus. I skipped the dining hall entirely, surviving on granola bars from my room. But Chloe seemed to have forgotten all about it. She never showed up. I started to relax. Maybe it was just a whim. Maybe she'd already moved on. On the third afternoon, I had to drop off some paperwork at the department office. I crept to the door, mission accomplished, and turned to flee, and ran straight into someone. Chloe. She was leaning against the wall, arms crossed, like she'd been waiting for a while. Hiding from me? No, I lied, my voice cracking. 3 days are up, Mr. Walker. She glanced at her watch. So, what's your answer? I took a deep breath, ready to recite the rejection speech I'd been practicing. It was the standard, "You're amazing, I'm not good enough for you. I hope you find what you're looking for" template. Before I could get a word out, my phone rang. It was my mom. I picked up. "Nay, you'll never guess what happened. The people across the hall moved out, and a new neighbor just moved in today. Turns out she goes to your school. Her name is Chloe Fisher. Do you know her? Such a sweet, beautiful girl. I told her if she needs anything at all, she should just ask you." My jaw went slack. Chloe watched my expression turn to stone, and her smile grew even more fox-like. She dangled a set of keys from her finger. Fancy that, new neighbor. My perfectly crafted rejection speech died a silent, pathetic death. My mom enthusiastically invited Chloe over for dinner. At the table, she never stopped piling food onto Chloe's plate. "Chloe, dear, you come over anytime. Treat this like your own home." "Thank you, Mrs. Walker. This is the best pasta I've ever had." Chloe's compliments were sweeter than honey. My dad chimed in from the side. "Ryan, you make sure you look after the young lady. Good neighbors are hard to find." I just kept my head down and shoveled pasta into my mouth, feeling like every noodle was part of a grand conspiracy. After dinner, my mom made me walk Chloe back across the hall. We stood between our two front doors under the dim hallway light. "Do you believe me now?" "I'm not kidding," Chloe asked, leaning against her doorframe. "What do you even want?" I genuinely didn't get it. "We barely know each other. So we can get to know each other," she said like it was obvious. "I like your face and your personality. Well, you're a little quiet, but you seem like a good guy. But mostly, the way you ran away from me was really, really cute." "What kind of reason was that?" "Chloe, I'm not a toy. I'm not playing with you." Her playful tone disappeared. "I'm serious. We're from different worlds. Did you buy the map? You don't get to decide that." She had me there. I was speechless. "Ryan," her voice softened. "Just give a shot. What's the worst that could happen?" The hallway was quiet enough to hear her breathing. That citrus scent drifted over again. My heart started beating a little too fast. "We're just neighbors. Don't get any ideas." I unlocked my door and escaped into my apartment. As the door clicked shut, I heard a soft, laughing goodnight from across the hall. Being my neighbor gave Chloe the perfect excuse to be relentless. For instance, at 7 in the morning, my doorbell would ring like clockwork. I'd open the door to find Chloe, dark circles under her eyes, holding out a coffee. "Morning, neighbor. We're heading the same way. Want to walk to campus together?" "We're not. I don't have a class this morning." "Oh, my mistake." "Well, I already bought the coffee, so you might as well take it." She'd shove the cup into my hand and turned to press the elevator button. The cup was still warm. It was Americano, black, no sugar, no cream. How did she know? Another time, I was at the grocery store on a Saturday. As I pushed my cart through the aisles, I had a chance encounter with her. She looked into my cart and frowned so hard her eyebrows nearly touched. "Ryan, is your life plan really to subsist entirely on ramen and cereal? It's efficient." Without another word, she started tossing things into my cart. Broccoli, chicken breasts, a carton of eggs. "You need a balanced diet, or you'll go bald." At checkout, she insisted on separating her items from mine. "We're going Dutch," she said with a serious face. "I may be pursuing you, but we need to keep our finances clear." I stared at the pile of healthy food on the conveyor belt that was obviously for me and didn't say a word. The final straw was when the department posted the teams for the new corporate partnership project. My name, Ryan Walker, was listed right next to Chloe Fisher. Our supervising professor even pulled me aside for a chat. "Ryan, Chloe is brilliant with the design software and has a ton of creative ideas. The two of you will complement each other perfectly. I'm expecting great things from this team." I looked over at Chloe, who was standing beside the professor with an expression of pure, innocent surprise. Could there be any more coincidences? 5. The project had to be done. There was no escaping it now. We agreed to meet in a study room at the library. Chloe showed up with her laptop, fully prepared. Her ideas were clear, and she had one creative spark after another. I had to admit, she was brilliant, not just a pretty face. Halfway through our session, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and immediately declined the call. A few seconds later, it buzzed again. She declined it again. Spam call, I asked offhandedly. No, she pursed her lips. A guy who's trying to ask me out. It's super annoying. My hand paused on my keyboard. See, being pursued can be pretty annoying, right? I said, trying to make a point. She looked up, her eyes sparkling. That's different. How is it different? It's annoying when he does it because I don't like him. It's annoying when you run from me because you do like me. You just won't admit it. My brain nearly short-circuited. What kind of twisted logic is that? Chloe, logic, she said, lifting her chin proudly. So, are you admitting you like me? Let's just get back to work. 6. The project went more smoothly than I ever could have imagined. Chloe and I worked together with a kind of infuriatingly perfect synergy. I would build the framework and sweat the details. She would handle the concepts and visual polish. Often, I'd just have to glance in a certain direction, and she'd know exactly the effect I was going for. That kind of chemistry scared me. On Friday night, we were working late in the study room to meet a deadline. A thunderstorm had rolled in, and rain was lashing against the windows. We finally finished a critical section. I let out a long breath and leaned back in my chair. Chloe was just as exhausted, slumped over the table. Her head turned to look at me. Ryan, I'm starving. Order pizza? Who's going to deliver in this weather? She blinked at me. Your place is close by. How about we go to your apartment and you can make some ramen? I looked at the sheets of rain outside. She was right. Phoenix. Back in my apartment, I dug out 2 packets of instant ramen, added a couple of eggs, and threw in some greens. When I put the bowls on the table, Chloe's eyes went wide. Ryan, you know how to fry an egg, and it's a perfect sunny side up. Is that supposed to be hard? She buried her face in the bowl and slurped the noodles down like a starving kitten. This is amazing. It's better than my mom's cooking. Watching her exaggerated performance, I couldn't help but want to smile. After we finished, she insisted on washing the dishes. The sound of running water filled the small kitchen. Her, standing there at my sink, somehow didn't feel out of place. It felt harmonious. I immediately crushed that thought. The rain had let up. It was time for her to go. I walked her to the door. She suddenly turned. Ryan, it's been way more than 3 days. Yeah, so what's the answer? The hallway light seemed even dimmer than last time, but her eyes were impossibly bright. I could smell my own body wash in her hair. This was all getting too weird. Chloe, never mind. She cut me off with a small smile. It's painful watching you squirm. Let's just say the offer expired. My heart felt strangely hollow for a second. But then she leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a mischievous whisper. But for you, I'll let you jump the line. Before I could process that, she opened her door and slipped back into her apartment, leaving me standing alone in the hallway, my heart pounding like a drum. Jump the line? What the hell did that mean? 8. I found out what jumping the line meant the very next morning. When I opened my door to head to class, there was a paper bag hanging on the doorknob. Inside was a breakfast burrito and a hot coffee. A pink sticky note was attached to the bag. Line jumper perk number 1. Breakfast of Champions. P.S. You have to finish it. I stood there, holding the warm coffee. The apartment across the hall was silent. These perks started appearing more and more frequently. Sometimes it was an apple with a goofy face drawn on it in marker. Sometimes it was an extra copy of review materials she printed out. Sometimes it was a pack of throat lozenges tucked into the side pocket of my backpack. She had stopped the loud, public pursuits and switched to a quieter, more consistent strategy. It was everywhere, but always maintained just enough distance that I never had a clear chance to say no. The day before our project presentation, we were doing one final run-through of the slideshow. At a critical moment, my design software froze, then crashed completely. When I reopened it, the entire section I just finished was gone. Unsaved. I stared at the blank screen, my blood running cold. That was the core of our presentation for tomorrow. It's over was all I could think. Chloe leaned over to look. It's okay, she said, patting my shoulder. I remember most of it. I'll rebuild the visuals. You just tell me the specs. She pulled her own laptop over, opened the software, and her fingers started flying across the keyboard. That section had been her creative brainchild, and she remembered it with perfect clarity. We put our heads together and worked late into the night, finally managing to restore about 90% of it. Save. Shut down. I was so tired I could barely keep my eyes open. Thanks, I said, and I meant it. You're welcome, she replied with a yawn. Come on, your personal escort will see you home. 9. The presentation was a huge success. Our proposal received the highest score in the class. Our professor was beaming, showering us with praise. When we walked out of the classroom, the sun was shining. For the first time in a while, I felt light and carefree. Hey, Ryan, we should celebrate, Chloe said, nudging me with her elbow. Ow, you could treat me to dinner. I was the hero of this project after all. I thought about it. She really had saved my neck. Okay, what do you want to eat? Her eyes darted around mischievously. I want you to cook for me. Something a little more advanced than instant ramen. I looked at her hopeful face, and the words of refusal that had formed on my lips just melted away. I don't have any groceries. Then let's go get some. We went to the big supermarket near campus. Chloe pushed the cart, weaving through the aisles with infectious excitement. Ryan, look at these shrimp. They look so fresh. Ryan, let's get some ribs. Ryan, what kind of soup do you feel like having? She said my name over and over, so naturally. I followed behind her, placing the items she'd picked out into the cart. For a second, I felt a strange sense of déjà vu. This felt a lot like a normal couple's life. At the register, she tried to pay again. I put my hand over hers. I've got this. She froze for a moment. Then a slow smile spread across her face, her eyes curving into crescents. Okay. 10. My kitchen wasn't big enough for 2 people. I was on main cooking duty, and Chloe volunteered to be my sous chef. She managed to splash water everywhere, just washing vegetables. Her attempts at slicing a tomato resulted in a mangled, uneven mess. I couldn't watch anymore. All right, Your Highness, why don't you go wait in the living room before you hurt yourself? I'm learning, she mumbled indignantly, but she obediently went out. As I cooked, I could hear the TV in the living room and the sound of her humming along to a commercial jingle. A part of me, deep inside, felt like it was softening in the warmth of it all. I managed to pull off 4 dishes and a soup, and it all actually looked and smelled pretty good. Chloe took about 50 pictures from every possible angle before finally picking up her fork. Every bite was followed by a compliment. Ryan, you're a genius. This pasta carbonara is to die for. Whoever marries you is going to be the luckiest person alive. I kept my head down, but I could feel my ears getting hot. After dinner, she insisted on washing the dishes. I didn't stop her. The sound of running water filled the apartment as I sat on the couch. For the first time, I thought that having another person's presence in my home wasn't so bad. It took her forever to finish. She emerged with her hands bright red. I think I used too much soap. I had to rinse them about 100 times, she said, embarrassed. I looked at her hands. You should wear gloves next time. I regretted it the moment I said it. Next time. But she latched onto the phrase, her eyes lighting up. Okay, next time I'll wear gloves. She checked the time. It was getting late. I walked her to the door. She stood outside, just looking at me. Ryan, that was the best meal I've ever had. You were exaggerating. No, really, she said, her expression completely serious. Especially because I was eating it with you. The hallway light still hadn't been fixed, and her silhouette was soft in the dimness. But her eyes shone like stars. That soft spot in my heart started acting up again. The floor's wet. Be careful, I said quietly. She smiled and waved. I know. Good night, Ryan. The door across the hall clicked shut. I leaned against my own door and sighed. Ryan, you're losing this fight. 11. The line jumper perks started to level up. It was no longer just breakfast and sticky notes. One night, when I was up late working on a drawing, I got a text from her. Neighbor, there's a surprise at your window. Skeptical, I walked over to the window. Across the way, in her apartment window, she had used glow sticks to create a crooked, wobbly, smiley face. Underneath, it were 2 words, G.O. sleep. I couldn't help but smile. I texted back, it's hideous. Her reply was instant. It's the thought that counts. Now go to bed. Another time, our class went on a sketching trip to the countryside. On the bus, she naturally slid into the seat next to me. The bus was noisy, so she handed me one of her earbuds. Listen to this. It'll drown out the noise. The music was some loud indie rock band she loved, but somehow I listened to the whole album. As we were getting off the bus, she leaned in and whispered, "Your ears are red." I instinctively touched my ear as she laughed and ran off. Ben and the guys started looking at me with more and more suspicion. "Walker, just tell us the truth. What base are you on? Not even on the field. Liar. You guys are always together. You're project partners, and the way she looks at you could melt steel. You're seeing things." I denied it, but deep down I knew he was right. 12. The sketching location was an old town with stone-paved roads and a small, clear river. During our free time, I found a quiet spot by the river and set up my easel. Just as I got my paints ready, Chloe found me. She didn't bother me, just found a large rock nearby to sit on, doodling in a small notebook. Sunlight filtered down through the willow trees, dappled and warm. The only sounds were the scratching of my pencil and the occasional chirp of a bird. It was a comfortable silence. When I was nearly finished, I stretched and glanced over at her. She was hugging her knees, the notebook resting on her lap, her head bobbing. She'd fallen asleep. The wind blew a few strands of her hair across her face, and she mumbled something in her sleep. She looked kind of silly. I put down my pencil, walked over, and gently took the notebook before it could slide off her lap. It was filled with little cartoon drawings of me. There was me, frowning at a piece of paper. Me, slurping instant ramen. Me, with a serious expression, sketching by the river. Next to them were speech bubbles. Silly Ryan, is ramen really that good? And why so serious? I found myself smiling as I flipped through the pages. On the last page was a drawing of her, asleep on the rock, with a cartoon version of me draping a jacket over her shoulders. Next to it, she had written in small letters, "Hope this comes true." I looked up at the sky. The sun was pretty strong. I took off my light jacket and gently laid it over her. I was as careful as I could be, but she still woke up. She blinked her eyes open, saw me, then the jacket, and her whole face lit up. "Ryan, the sun's bright. Don't sleep here. You'll catch a cold," I said gruffly, turning back to pack up my art supplies. I could feel her gaze on my back, and I knew she was smiling. 13 on the bus ride back. She was full of energy, chattering away. "You look really handsome when you're drawing. You know that? What brand of paints do you use? Ryan, can we go sketching again sometime?" I closed my eyes and pretended to be asleep, occasionally grunting in response. She didn't seem to care, happily talking to herself. As the bus swayed, her voice grew quieter. Her head tilted to the side and came to rest on my shoulder. My whole body went rigid. I could smell that faint citrus scent in her hair, mixed with the smell of sunshine. I didn't move. The driver hit the brakes suddenly, and she started to slide. Without thinking, I put my arm out to steady her head, gently guiding it back to my shoulder. After I did it, I froze, surprised at my own actions. Watching the trees fly by outside the window, I gave in. Forget it. 14 after that, something felt different. I still hadn't officially said, "Let's be a couple." But when Chloe brought me coffee, I would take it without protest. When she ran into me at the grocery store and threw healthy food into my cart, I stopped arguing. When she came over for dinner, I'd make an extra dish. When she washed the dishes, I'd stand nearby and watch, reminding her not to drop anything. It was a silent understanding. Until her birthday, she started dropping hints a week in advance. "Ryan, next Friday is a very special day, you know." "Uh-huh. That's it? Just uh-huh. I know." She huffed and walked away. The truth was, I'd already gotten her a gift. A delicate silver chain with a small gear for a pendant, because she always said I was like a precise but stubborn machine part. On her birthday, she invited a bunch of friends to a karaoke bar. I went too. The room was painfully loud. She was surrounded by her friends, laughing and having the time of her life. When it was time for the cake, everyone started chanting for her to make a wish. She closed her eyes, looking incredibly serious. Then she opened them and looked right at me, her eyes sparkling. After she blew out the candles, she was flooded with gifts. When she got to mine, her movements slowed down. She opened the box, saw the necklace, and a smile she couldn't contain spread across her face. "Help me put on," she said, handing it to me. She turned around and lifted her hair. My fingers fumbled with the clasp. The cool metal touched the skin on her neck. She turned back around, her fingers tracing the small gear. "Is it pretty?" she asked. The light in the karaoke room was dim, the lyrics on the screen casting shifting colors on her face. "Yeah, it is," I said. She beamed, then leaned in close, her voice a whisper against the booming music. "This is the best gift I've ever gotten." No one else noticed us in the chaos, but I felt like my heartbeat was loud enough to overpower the speakers. 15, it was late when we finally left the karaoke bar. Her friends went their separate ways, and I walked her home. The streets were quiet, our shadows stretching and shrinking under the streetlights. She'd had a little too much to drink and was clinging to my arm, her steps unsteady. "Ryan, I had so much fun today." "Good. Guess what I wish for?" "It won't come true if you say it." "Oh, right." She quickly covered her mouth, her eyes crinkling with laughter. We got to her apartment building. The cool night air seemed to sober her up a bit. "Let's go up," I said. She stood still, looking up at me. "Ryan, what are we, right now?" The question I'd been avoiding. I looked at her, saying nothing. The light in her eyes slowly started to fade. "Never mind. Forget I asked," she said, letting go of my arm and turning toward the elevator. I grabbed her wrist. She turned back. "You talked about jumping the line," I said, pausing. "So, did a line jumper make it?" Her eyes lit up again, brighter than the disco ball at the bar. "You tell me." The elevator doors opened to an empty car. I pulled her inside. As we ascended, the floor numbers ticking up, the only sound in the small space was our breathing. "Chloe." "Yeah." "Stop swaying. Stand still." "Okay." She leaned against me obediently, her fingers still tightly laced with mine. The elevator dinged. The doors opened. I let go of her hand and walked out. She followed behind me. When we got her door, she took out her keys but didn't unlock it right away. "Ryan." I turned. She suddenly stood on her toes and gave me a quick, firm kiss on the cheek. Then she scrambled to unlock her door and ducked inside, leaving it open just a crack. "Good night, boyfriend." The door slammed shut. I stood in the hallway for a long moment. I raised my hand to my cheek. It still felt warm. 16. With the title official, Chloe became even more shameless. The subtle line jumper perks turned into blatant public displays of affection. In a 100-person lecture, she would insist on sitting next to me and then insist on holding my hand under the desk. I'd pull away. She'd grab it again. "It's legal now," she'd whisper, completely serious. While the professor lectured, she'd trace patterns on my palm with her fingernail. She drew a heart. My palm tingled, and I didn't hear a single word of the lecture. At the dining hall, she would demand a bite of my food. "Yours looks better. Give me some." Then she'd just reach her fork over into my plate. The other students would give us knowing looks. Ben and the guys would just start catcalling. "Whoa, Walker, get a room." Chloe would just smile sweetly and reply, "Jealous. Go find your own." I just keep my head down and eat, feeling my face flush. But I didn't hate it. 17. The peace didn't last long. Trouble, as I predicted, finally arrived. The guy who'd been chasing Chloe, Blake, found out we were together. He cornered me at the basketball court. I had just finished a game and was covered in sweat. Blake and a few of his buddies blocked my path, and they didn't look happy. "Walker, we need to talk. If you have something to say, say it." "You and Chloe." "For real?" "Yeah." His face darkened. "What's so special about you?" I had no idea how to answer that. Ben and my other roommates came over. "Blake, what's your problem?" The tension was thick. Suddenly, Chloe came running up out of breath. Someone must have tipped her off. She planted herself directly in front of me. "Blake, will you get a rest? Who I'm with is none of your business." Seeing Chloe protecting me like that, Blake's expression turned even fouler. "Chloe, you picked this quiet loser?" "Yes, I did. And he's 1,000 times better than you." Chloe shouted. "If you ever bother him again, you'll have to deal with me." Blake stared at us for a few seconds, then let out a cold laugh and walked off with his friends. Chloe finally turned to me, looking me up and down. "Are you okay? Did he do anything to you?" "I'm Fine." I looked at her flushed, angry face and my heart softened. "How'd you get here so fast?" "Ben texted me." You think I was going to let him get away with that? She said, glaring at me. If he ever comes near you again, you call me immediately. I reached up and wiped a bead of sweat from her forehead with my sleeve. Okay. She froze for a second, her face turning a little red. Ben and the guys started making exaggerated, gagging noises. Oh my God, I can't watch this. 18. After the incident with Blake, our relationship was basically public knowledge. The campus forums were buzzing for a few days. There were opinions of all kinds. Some people were happy for us. Some were taking bets on how long we'd last, and most were just there for the drama. I didn't bother reading any of it. Chloe, on the other hand, read every single comment with relish, even reading them out loud to me. Listen to this one. Ryan must have saved the galaxy in a previous life. See, they get it. And this one, just waiting for the breakup. Ugh, they can wait forever. I took her phone and locked the screen. Stop reading that stuff, it's dumb. It's not dumb, it's hilarious, she pouted. Anyway, now that you're my official boyfriend, you need to do boyfriend things. Like what? Dates. We have to go on dates. Movies. Shopping. That's what normal couples do. I felt a headache coming on. Can we pick something quieter? Like studying together at the library? That I can do. And so, we spent our weekend at the city library. It was a complete failure. We got zero studying done. Every few minutes, she'd poke me to show me a funny meme. Then she'd rest her head on my arm and whisper, "I'm sleepy." Then she'd pass me a note. "Boyfriend, you look really handsome when you're focused." I looked down at her neat handwriting, then at her big, blinking eyes and sighed. I closed my book. "Okay, we're done here. Let's go." "Where are we going?" she asked, instantly perking up. "I don't know. Just for a walk." 19, we ended up just wandering the streets. No destination, just a slow walk down a tree-lined avenue. Her hand was small and soft in mine. It was fall, and the leaves were turning yellow. They rustled as they fell from the trees. She'd run ahead to stomp on them, delighting in the crunching sound. "Ryan, look, that leaf looks like a heart." "Ryan, can we get some of those roasted chestnuts?" "Ryan, look, they're selling balloons." She had the boundless energy of a child. I followed behind her, paying for things, holding her stuff. She walked on, holding a balloon and eating chestnuts, a smudge of sugar at the corner of her mouth. "Here, have one," she said, holding up a perfectly peeled chestnut to my lips. I leaned down and ate it. It was sweet. "Good, right?" she asked, her eyes shining. "Yeah." Satisfied, she skipped ahead, humming a tuneless song. I watched her back, her ponytail swinging with every step, and I suddenly thought that these noisy, chaotic days weren't so bad after all. 20, we found a bench in a small park and sat down. The setting sun painted the sky in shades of orange and red. She leaned against me, playing with the string of her balloon. "Ryan, do you think we'll ever fight?" "Probably." "Well, even if we fight, we're not allowed to break up." "Okay, pinky promise," she said, holding out her little finger. It felt childish, but I hooked my finger around hers. "Seal it," she said, pressing her thumb to mine. After the ritual was complete, she seemed to relax and lean back against me. "Ryan, I like you." The wind rustled the leaves in the trees. I didn't say anything. I just pulled her a little closer. Some things don't need to be said out loud. She seemed to understand. She gave a small, contented laugh and didn't press the issue. The balloon string was wrapped around her finger, swaying gently in the evening light. Just like this moment. Simple and incredibly peaceful. 21, graduation season arrived like a sudden storm. A feeling of farewell began to permeate the campus. Graduation photos, signing yearbooks, final dinners with friends. Chloe was a year behind me, but she seemed more anxious than I was. She'd follow me around, asking, "Ryan, how's the job search going? Ryan, which city is that company in? Ryan, do they provide housing? Is it nice?" I had landed a pretty good offer with a design firm in a major city, but it was far from where we went to college. Chloe still had another year of school left. This problem was a small, hard pebble stuck between us. One evening, we were taking a walk around the athletic track. She was kicking at the rubber pellets, quiet for a long time. "What's wrong?" I asked. She stopped and looked up at me, her eyes looking a little wet in the dark. "You're leaving, Ryan." "Yeah, I start next month." "It's so far away," she said, her voice muffled. We won't be able to see each other whenever we want. I took her hand. There are holidays, and we can video chat. It's not the same. She pulled her hand away, then immediately grabbed it back, clutching it tightly. Long distance is hard. What if you get distracted by all the exciting things in the big city and you don't want me anymore? I looked at her, her face a mask of serious concern. I wanted to laugh, but my heart also ached for her. I won't. How do you know? There's so many pretty girls out there. Because I paused, looking her directly in the eye. Dealing with you is enough trouble for one lifetime. She stared at me for a second, then punched my arm lightly. Hey, am I that much trouble? The most trouble, I said, nodding seriously as I pulled her into a hug. Which is why I have to keep an eye on you. So, you don't go bothering anyone else. She was quiet in my arms for a few seconds, then she whispered, You'd better keep your word. 22 The last few weeks before leaving were a blur. Finalizing paperwork, packing boxes, saying goodbye to my friends. Ben slapped me on the back. Walker, you go out there and kill it. We'll all come crash on your couch one day. Chloe was a whirlwind of efficiency, helping me pack. She organized all my design sketches perfectly, complaining as she worked. Ryan, is this supposed to be me? Why did you make me look so weird? This one's okay. Wait, when did you draw this? She held up a sketch. It was the one from the riverbank, of her asleep. I'd been pretty detailed, even capturing the few strands of hair that stuck up. I felt a little embarrassed and tried to take it back. It was just a random doodle. She dodged, clutching the drawing to her chest. This one's mine now. No take-backs. While clearing off the top of my bookshelf, she found a small box. What's this? Hiding treasure. It was the box from the necklace I'd almost given her for her birthday. After I gave her the other one, I just tossed the empty box up there. She opened it. It was empty, but on the inside of the lid, in tiny pen script, was a line I'd almost forgotten I'd written. I hope she's always this happy. I'd scribbled it down on a whim the day I was wrapping it. Chloe stared at the words for a long time. Then she closed the box, placed it gently back on the shelf, and didn't say a word. She went back to packing, but the tips of her ears were red. 23 The night before I left, we had dinner at my place. The apartment was barren, which made it feel huge and hollow. We ordered takeout and sat on a picnic blanket on the living room floor. Just like that first time she'd come over for ramen. The mood was a little somber. After we ate, she helped me do a final check. Got your charger? Yep. Basic medicine. Packed. ID, bank cards. All set. She looked around the empty apartment. There was nothing left. Okay, let's go, she said, standing up, her voice artificially cheerful. I'll walk you to the station. I reached out and took her hand. Chloe, yeah. As soon as I'm settled, you should come do your internship there. Her eyes blinked. Is that your way of asking me to move in with you, Mr. Walker? Yes. I looked at her. Are you in? She broke into a huge grin and threw her arms around my neck. Yes. Of course I'm in. You're not getting away from me. 24 The train station was a chaotic mess of people. After checking my luggage, there was still some time before departure. We stood in a corner of the waiting hall, not knowing what to say. The announcer called out train numbers over the intercom. They're starting to board, I said. Oh, she kept her head down, fidgeting with my fingers. Take care of yourself. You too. Eat real food. Don't live on ramen. I know you sound like my dad. Call me if you need anything. Uh-huh. The final boarding call echoed through the hall. I picked up my backpack. I'm really going now. She suddenly looked up. Her eyes were red, but she was fighting back tears. Ryan, she sniffled. Lean down. I did as she asked. She gave me a quick, hard kiss. There. It's sealed. You're mine now, so you'd better behave yourself out there. I looked at her, trying so hard to be fierce, and my heart melted. Okay. I turned and walked toward the gate. I didn't look back. I knew if I did, she would start crying, and I probably would too. 25 New city, new job. Everything was starting from scratch. The apartment I rented was tiny, but it had a south-facing window. I put a photo of me and Chloe on my nightstand. The first thing I did every day after work was call her. She would show me the new coffee shop that opened near campus, show me the latest weird gadget she bought, and fill me in on all the gossip. I would show her the still mediocre dinners I cooked for myself and the city lights from my window. The days flew by in a stream of video calls and text messages. We fought sometimes. Over the time difference, over me getting busy and forgetting to reply, over her feeling like I didn't miss her enough. But after every fight, she was always the one who couldn't stand it anymore and would send a goofy sticker to make peace. Or I would order a bouquet of flowers to be delivered to her dorm. The hardship of being apart was real, but knowing someone was waiting for you on the other end made everything feel full. 6 months later, I was finally getting the hang of my job. I did well on a major project and got a nice bonus. The first person I called was Chloe. I got my bonus. Wow, congratulations, boyfriend. How are you going to celebrate? I booked you a flight. You're coming here next weekend. There were 3 seconds of silence on the other end of the line, followed by a piercing scream. Are you serious? Oh, Ryan, I love you. The day she arrived, I got to the airport 2 hours early. When the arrivals board landed, my palms started to sweat. I scanned the crowd pouring through the gates, and I saw her immediately. She was wearing a bright yellow sweater, pulling a suitcase, her head whipping back and forth. When she saw me, her face lit up. She let go of her suitcase and ran, crashing into me like a cannonball. Ryan, I missed you so much. I held her tight, breathing in that familiar citrus scent. The empty space in my chest was finally full again. Yeah, I said, my voice thick. I missed you too. 27 that weekend, I showed her my new city. We went to my grocery store, walked the route I took home from work, and ate at my favorite little restaurants. She held onto my arm, curious about everything. Ryan, your office building is so tall. Ryan, this park is way bigger than the one at school. Ryan, that ice cream place looks amazing. That night, we went back to my tiny apartment. She did a full inspection, then nodded. Not bad. You kept it clean. It's not a total pigsty. Then she opened her suitcase and started pulling things out. A pair of goofy slippers for me, a matching pair to hers. A mug she'd made in a pottery class, charmingly lopsided. My favorite brand of body wash, because she said she remembered the scent. And enough snacks to fill my entire empty fridge. The tiny apartment was instantly filled with life. When she was done, she stood with her hands on her hips, looking around with satisfaction. There! Now it feels right. I came up behind her and wrapped my arms around her, resting my chin on her shoulder. Feels like what? Like a home, silly. 28 taking her to the airport on Sunday night was a little easier than last time. At least her eyes weren't red, and I could speak in complete sentences. Be safe on your way back. I will. Don't stay up all night working on your thesis. You too. Don't work so much overtime. Text me when you land. Okay. She went through security, then turned and waved at me frantically, shouting, Ryan, wait for me to graduate. I waved back, watching her disappear into the crowd. My heart felt a little empty again, but this time it was filled more with anticipation than sadness. On the subway ride home, I got a text from her. It was a picture of the photo frame on my nightstand. She'd replaced our old photo with a new one from this trip. We were at the airport, both grinning like idiots. Below the picture was a line of text. Reconnaissance complete. Next time, it's a permanent deployment. 29 time moves quickly when you have something to look forward to. Chloe buried herself in her final thesis project, and my work entered a critical phase. Our video calls became shorter, but we never missed our goodnight texts or voice messages. The day of her thesis defense, I was in a meeting at work with my phone on silent. When the meeting ended, I saw over a dozen missed calls, all from her. My stomach clenched. I immediately called her back. She picked up on the first ring. Ryan. Her voice was choked with tears. My heart dropped. What's wrong? Did you not pass? No. She sobbed. I got distinction, top of the class. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding and started to laugh. Then why are you crying? Because I'm so happy, she said, laughing and crying at the same time. Ryan, I can finally come to you. I can really, truly come now. Listening to her joyful, incoherent rambling, I looked out the window at the sprawling city lights. This place, which had once felt so alien, was finally about to become our home. 30 the weekend after Chloe finished all her graduation paperwork, I flew back. I helped her pack up her apartment and arrange for shipping. She had way more stuff than I'd imagined, especially her art supplies and design portfolios. These are my babies. We can't leave them behind, she directed, a sheen of sweat on her forehead. After 2 days of chaos, We were finally done. The night before we left, we took Ben and the guys out to dinner. A farewell and a celebration. Ben had too much to drink and slammed his hand on the table. You two better make it work. You're our class's best hope for a real-life fairy tale. Chloe just laughed and leaned against me. You bet we are. Later, walking her back to her parents' house, we found them waiting for us outside. Her mom's eyes were red as she held Chloe's hands, giving her a long list of instructions. Then she looked at me. Ryan, you take care of our girl. You hear? I nodded. You have my word, Mrs. Fisher. Her dad didn't say much, just gave my shoulder a firm, solid squeeze. Chloe hugged her mom, her own voice getting thick. All right, it's not like she's never coming back, her dad said. Go on up. You have an early flight. Before going inside, Chloe turned and waved energetically. Bye, Mom. Bye, Dad. I'm going. 31 at the airport again. But this time we were together. She held our boarding passes, looking around with pure excitement. Ryan, once we leave this time, it'll be a long while before we're back, right? Yeah, probably not till Christmas. Good, she said, leaning her head on my shoulder. We're going to have our own little home. The plane took off, breaking through the clouds. She stared out the window at the sea of white, then said suddenly, Ryan, do you remember how hard to get you were? I remember. So does this mean I finally got you? I turned and looked into her sparkling eyes. I lifted her hand to my lips and gave a soft kiss. Yeah, I said, you got me. A look of pure contentment spread across her face. She leaned against my shoulder and slowly drifted off to sleep. Sunlight streamed through the window, falling on her face. I squeezed her hand. The future was long, and there would probably be plenty more trouble ahead. But I had a feeling that as long as she was there, life would never be boring.